Sewing machine tension. This is possibly one of the things sewers struggle with most, is knowing when to change the tension on their machine. So I've created this tension table for you. It's not completed because every project differs, every machine differs, and fabric differs as well. So as you go along, as you sew with different fabrics, you can complete this tension table and you can refer back to it so you know if you're sewing with scuba knit, which needle you use, and what the tension on your own machine was. So to test the tension on your machine, if you're sewing with a new fabric or if you're uncertain about how to do that, use 2 different colors of thread. That's the best option, and it makes it easy to see. So I've got red at the top, bottom, and green at the top. So red in the bobbin. And then, very importantly, test the tension on the fabric you will be using. There's no point in testing tension on chiffon and then you're sewing with denim. That's going to be completely different. So I'm testing the tension here on a piece of cotton. You can see it's not a very thick cotton. Look how see-through it is. And I've just chosen black just so that you can easily see. And I'm using my normal straight stitch. I haven't adjusted stitch length or anything, but a good starting point is your tension somewhere between 3 and 4. And you can try it on 3. So the lower your tension, the looser the thread will be. Remember to adjust your tension while your presser foot is up. And all you're going to do is you're going to stitch there we go. And you're going to have a look at what your stitches look like. Now, if you have a look at that, there you go, it's nice and clear. That actually looks pretty good. You can see a little bit of the green at the bottom, and a little bit of the red at the top, but it's nothing serious. And it looks good. Doesn't look like it's pulling apart there. Won't pull apart naturally. So it does seem like 3 is a good option for this, but I want to show you. So if the tension is too low, as a rule of thumb, try not to change your bobbin tension. I've never changed my bobbin tension in my life, and you can see it's nice and sturdy there. It doesn't want to even let me rip it out. Try not to change your bobbin tension. So usually change tension at the top. So if you're having trouble at the bottom of your fabric, if it's making bird's nest or something like that, it means your problem is at the top. And if you have trouble at the top of your fabric, it means your problem is at the bottom, usually an incorrectly threaded bobbin. So I've set my tension very low to 1, and you're going to see now. Now this isn't too noticeable on the cotton, but if you're sewing with a thin knit or something like that, it can wreak havoc on your sewing. So over here you can see it looks good at the top, but if you turn it over, so remember my top tension is very loose now. You can see that it's pulling through to the bottom. Look how loose those stitches are. If I just fiddle with them a bit, they're very wobbly. And if I open it up, there you can see, look at how the green stitches are pulling through, because the top tension is too loose. It's not set tight enough. Now, if the top is too loose, it means the top thread is floppy and it's being pulled too far through. I want to make it even looser. Let's see, 0. Let's see if I can show you. Maybe on a zigzag stitch. Things like skipping stitches, strange stitches. There we go. Now you can see, look at that. So this is a zigzag stitch at the back of the fabric. That is completely incorrect. It should be making perfect little zigzags. But because the green, the top thread is too loose, it's pulling through to the bottom of the fabric. Oh, also when you're testing tension, always test on a double layer, because that's what you'll be sewing on. Look at how loose that is. So that tension is way too low, and I'm sure if I just pull on the green, it'll come out. There we go. Look at that. Look at how loose that is. Okay. Not very strong at all, is it? Right. So that's tension too low. Now, if I set the tension high, I'm always nervous when I do this. Oops. Because I'm always nervous of a needle breaking. So let's go up to like 6 over there. 6 is quite high. I'm going to set the tension high, and again, I'll sew a zigzag stitch. Oh, I can go even higher than that. That's more like it. And let's try a straight stitch on very high tension. So I've set the top tension. I've set high. Oh, it's almost like it won't feed the fabric. Okay. Getting rid of some threads here. So there was the tension. There it was. Tension was too loose. And now the top tension is too high. And can you see? It's creating an almost type of a channeling over there. It's pulling the fabric up because the tension isn't even. Tension should be relatively even at the top and the bottom for your bobbin and your stitching. So now at the bottom, the red, the bobbin looks okay, but you can see it's pulling. And then if I turn it over, look at how the bottom thread is being pulled through. Look at that. That looks hideous. Okay. So that's because the tension is too high. So balanced tension, usually between 3 and 4. Safe bet for me is usually 3.5. You'll have, imagine a tug of war between the top and the bottom. It needs to be even. If it's uneven, then your sewing won't come out the way you are hoping. Okay, top tension still maybe a bit high over there, but a good way to figure that out. I'm on 3.5, almost 4 here. A good way to figure out is to use a zigzag stitch. And that looks okay. Bit high still. Okay, see there, you can see this is now using a, there we go, that one. Using a 3.5. This is the back of the fabric. It's maybe still a little bit high, but you know, we're aiming for good, not perfect. Simple, not perfect. So if I set it to 3, I like testing my tension with a zigzag stitch because the zigzag stitch tells all. There we go. That's better. Already looking better. See? That looks good. And what you're aiming for is even stitches, no skipped stitches. And you want your fabric to be relatively strong. Keep in mind that a zigzag stitch is strong on knits, but not as strong on wovens. So don't judge too much by a zigzag stitch, but that's the tension. And a good tension for my machine personally, this Janome is 3.5. That's always my starting point. So when you're testing on a new piece of fabric, a good starting point is for 3.5. And other problems that might not be tension or skip stitches and those things could be your machine is threaded incorrectly, or your machine is even needs a good clean, your needle needs to be changed. So tension is usually the last thing that you change. You first troubleshoot all the other problems. And I wanted to try and get a bird's nest. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to try and get a bird's nest on this. I'm actually terrified because I'm afraid of knotting. Nope, doesn't want to, but it almost did. There you go. There you can see. So bird's nest is when the fabric bunches up at the bottom, and it can get really ugly. Look look at that. There you can see it. Look at that bunching. And what happens is sometimes there's a piece of thread that doesn't pull completely through, or the tension at the top is too low. This is the bottom of my fabric, and it creates these little bubbles, and sometimes they get really tangled, and we call that a bird's nest. Okay, so keep your tension table and make notes on there. So I'll write on here lightweight cotton, and the needle I used, oops, I'm using the incorrect needle, I won't tell you which one, and then the tension for that is good at 3.5. And keep completing this as you go along. Believe me, in 10 years time when you're sewing with scuba and you're skipping stitches, you'll be glad that you have it.